Okay, I'm going to talk you through the detailed reading part of the ELAE exam. I should say now, I don't write this exam. I don't know the exact process of how it's written. I'm just going through experience here of what I've seen in the past. So in the detailed reading, you're going to have two texts, and the two texts are going to be about pretty much similar subjects. They won't obviously be exactly the same, but they'll be similar. So they're often related to history and historical processes, things that happened in the past, what action caused another thing to happen. So it's going to be lots of cause and effect analysis. Okay, so first text I've chosen here I think is pretty typical of what you'll see in the ELAE. So we've got one called The Foundation of the American System. This is some economic policies in the 1800s in the United States. And the second text we've got here is called The History of Canadian Trade. So as you can see, there are some similarities. It's trade that it's going to be related to economic policies, trading with different countries, and both of them are in North America in the past, 1700s, 1800s, perhaps after. So that's what you can expect from the two texts. And what do we have as tasks? Some questions relating only to the first text. You've got 5 questions. Then you've got a task, 5 questions only relating to the second text. So you're specifically looking at one text or another. In the third one, we call this the synthesis task, which means you have to take information from both texts to be able to fill in these gaps. All right. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to look at these questions one by one, then I'm going to go through the answer key with you and tell you how I would go about answering the questions. Alright, so question number 1. Apart from the general economic conditions of the bluegrass region, what specifically led to Henry Clay's interest in protectionism? Alright, so we're looking for some keywords here. General economic conditions. And then we're looking for something more specific. Alright, so what I'm interested in here are these first 2 words. Apart from. You can see this quite often in the ELAE reading. And you have to be a bit careful, alright, because what this question means is, in the past, there were some general conditions within this particular area, but there was always something more specific. What we're looking for as an answer is not these, okay, not the general. Apart from means, okay, these had an effect, but we're not interested in that for the answer. We're looking for a specific detail. Okay, so keep those 2 words in mind when we go down and have a look. All right. Okay. So on a more general level, they had prosperous farmers, vibrant manufacturing, and growing cities. So these were the general things that were happening in the area. Now, if you remember, the question said apart from these. So these were going on. They affected the situation, but we're not interested in them in the question. What we want is something different from these. Okay, so apart from these, what was happening? This was. Okay, so you're going to see your keywords talking about the general thing. The specific, actually, in this particular question, comes before. Okay, so on a more general level, this marks the fact that you've talked about something specific and you're going on to the general. So your actual answer would be this sentence. The region had strong manufacturing connections. And this is what made this person, Clay, interested in protectionism. All right? Okay, let's go back and look at number 2 now. Okay. What's one example of how the high tariffs created in the legislative debates of 1824 and 1828 were supposed to aid the economy? All right. When you see this, it means that in the text there's more than one example. Okay, and it's okay for you to write one. You don't need to write all of them. Okay, 1824 and 1828. Those 2 things are going to be quite easy to find in the text. Okay, so let's go down and have a look. All right, here we go. There we go, 1824, 1828. All right, this question is typical of what you'll have to do in the ELAE because you've got those two dates, but the answer to the question doesn't come until the next paragraph. Okay, so, tariff bills were passed in this time and they raised duties on these products. You had to pay more tax. Okay. So the question asked us how they were supposed to aid the economy. Okay, and you see, benefit all sectors of the economy. So don't get wrong. Don't write this down. This isn't the answer. Okay, you've got to keep reading. All right, and now we've got one example. That's a correct answer. This is another correct answer. Okay, this is another correct answer. So you've got three possible answers here. But be careful. Don't just look at those dates and think, oh, this is what happened. Okay, read the whole question. Okay, it would benefit all. This is where it's helping you out here. Okay, you don't have a big word saying for example helping you here, so you're just going to have to make the jump from this sentence to the next one. All right, let's go back up and look at number 3 now. Oh, now this is a gap fill. These are usually quite tricky, so we just need to read carefully and see what the question's leading us to. All right, homogeneous. That looks quite an important key word. Okay. What around the country were basically the same. Okay. So we've got whereas at this. So it's going to be some kind of comparison of two different things. Okay, so whereas dependence on international trade led to weakness, a homogeneous system would result in something, as the products being brought around the country were basically the same. So we're going to have some kind of contrast, some kind of difference between the idea of international trade and homogeneous. Okay, let's go and have a look, see where we can find the answer. Here we go, paragraph 7. Okay. All right, the sentence here, international markets. So we've got this idea of international trade, created weakness. Okay, so we've seen the word weakness and international in the question, so we know we're in the right paragraph here. All right, defenders of the American system also stressed that domestic markets created homogeneity. Okay, so homogeneous is the adjective, homogeneity is the noun. Okay, so what would be the result of this? What would happen? Consumers throughout the nation would buy the same goods and read the same news, thus reducing regional loyalties and creating a more unified nation. Okay, so this is the answer we're looking for. And I also think that if this was a question, we'd probably accept patriotism. We may even accept reducing regional loyalties. Okay, so it's the idea that if you have everybody in the nation with the same thing, they feel more together. All right. Okay, let's go back up and look at question 4. All right, so what was a specific concern of the people in the southern United States with regard to a strong, centralized federal government? Okay, so people in the southern United States. Okay, so this is one region, and they had a specific concern. They were worried about one thing that didn't affect the north. And the thing that was going to cause this was the government. Okay, so let's have a look now, see where we can find this answer. All right. Okay. All right. So here. Okay, so some Southerners also feared that the centralization of power, okay, so centralization, central government, federal government here, so we know we're in the right place. Okay, presented a long-term threat to slavery. So this is the answer we're looking at. Actually, probably you might get away with that as well. Okay, the idea that people in the northern manufacturers were getting some benefit as well. All right. Okay, but this is probably the best answer. Okay, slavery, because this is the one thing that was we could see in the southern United States that wasn't in the north. Okay, so part 1, final question. What did Andrew Jackson's presidential election suggest about the views of most people, most Americans, about the American system? Okay, so Andrew Jackson, he became president of the United States in the 1830s. And obviously, normal Americans voted for him, so they chose him. And they chose him for a particular reason. And this was connected to this economic policy, the American system. Okay, so that's what the question's asking you. Let's see if we can go and find it now. Okay. All right, Clay, the other person that's been this text has been about, he wanted to become president as well, but Jackson beat him in 1832. And this pretty much led to the end of this American system, what was called the American system. Most Americans, okay, so here we are. We saw this in the question. What did they think? Apparently share Jackson's fears that the American system, mixing economic power with political centralization, would invite political corruption. Okay. So the most important part is that the system would invite political corruption. Okay. Because it's politics and economics together. If you mix politics and money, then you can get corruption. Actually, if you write this whole sentence, it would be marked correct. You could just write out this whole sentence in the ELE and it would be fine. Alright, I'm going to stop, get a breather, and then we'll go back and look at tasks 2 and 3.